What's going on, kinfolk? Welcome back to Real Talk Thursday.
We were thinking about what makes someone attracted to another person. What draws us to people? Is it, the idea of soulmates or twin flames? Is it love at first sight? Is it lust at first sight?
Is there such a thing as a soulmate?
So, come down this road with us and keep watching if you want to kind of delve into what makes people attract. So I have a question. Okay, let me start with you.
Okay.
What attracted you to Travis? So obviously we know that you met him on the dating app.
Yes.
So tell me what attracted you to him on the dating app, if anything, versus what attracted you to him when you met, like the first time you met him.
Okay.
So we're talking about just initial attraction.
Okay.
He was tall.
Well, honestly, I didn't know he was that tall. It said in his profile he was 6'5", and I remember initially thinking, oh, wow. Mm-hmm. But then I forgot that he was that tall.
Yeah.
And I was surprised when he stood up. I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
But initially when I saw his profile, I thought, like, oh, he's really attractive. Like, he's really attractive. Mm-hmm. But I don't look at guys like some women do. And no, like, there's a lot of women who think like me. But if I see a really good looking guy, I don't think, ooh, I want to meet him. I think, he must be a dog.
You think he's a playboy? I can see that. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
It's so scary to date good-looking guys. Honestly,
I agree with you, actually.
Sad.
Yeah.
Which I've heard guys say the same thing about women. So, I remember I looked at his profile, and then I swiped right, obviously. Mm-hmm. But then I wasn't sure. I don't remember, like, obviously on Bumble, we met on Bumble initially, and the woman is the one that has to make the first move. So I said, hey, I just said hi. That's it. And then he responded. I don't do like, are you sure you just want to say hi? Do you want to say something a little crafty to make him like, no, hi. If you like it, great, right. Fine, whatever. But so we had like a little conversation, but then I was talking to my friend Janae, and I remember asking, I was like, go to his Instagram, because he asked me if I had an Instagram, which I didn't give it to him initially because I didn't want him to look me up. Mm-hmm. But he gave me his, so I went and I looked him up, and it looked like he partied all the time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, So I asked Janae, I was like, does it look like, go to his profile, like, does it look like he parties all the time? And she was like, girl, yeah. And I was like, oh, it does. So then I just let it go. I didn't say anything else. Mm-hmm. And then a couple weeks later, I found him on Cupid, OK Cupid. Mm-hmm. And then on his profile, it said something a little bit different. He said, I used to like to go out a little bit more, but now that as I'm getting older, I just like to, kick it with my son and just hang out and play video games after work or whatever. I'm like, maybe I'm being too hard on him. So I decided to then we ended up having a first conversation on the phone. So initially, I was attracted to him, but I'm not impressed by that. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, Then when we had our first date, our first conversation was really nice. Mm-hmm. And that was like, he doesn't really know this, but I was only like halfway engaged in the conversation. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff that he was saying, like, I wasn't even like fully present.
Okay.
Because I just wasn't, I was so detached at that time from the idea of a relationship. Like, I was opening myself up to it, but I wasn't like, I hope he's the one, I was just like, whatever. Yeah. And then we ended up going on our date, and when we had our first date, I think he's very attractive. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, oh wow, like, he really is handsome. Yeah. And he's tall, and he has this way about him, like, I think I got more and more attracted to him as the date went on. Mm-hmm. His personality, he's funny. Mm-hmm. He was initially just really funny and just really sweet. And he, like, one of the things that he said, we were at the table for a long time talking, and he was like, do you have to go? Because, I just thought maybe we could go to the Starbucks down the street because I don't want to take up the table for the waitress. I know this is how that they make a lot of their money. I was
like, that was considerate. Yeah.
So considerate. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And I knew that he was different just based on that. And we were on our date for like 5 hours and we just talked the whole time. And he like opened up and told me something like personal about him that he was embarrassed. Like he's just a good person. He has this way about him. Like I feel like most people can feel it. Like he's just like a soft-hearted. So I could tell that he was genuinely humble. Yeah. And that I don't think and it's so crazy because I specifically prayed for the Lord to bring me someone who didn't realize how good looking he is. And I feel like that's how Travis is. Like he doesn't look in the mirror and think, dang.
Right.
I'm about to get on him.
Right,
tonight.
exactly.
He's just really humble and just very down to earth and doesn't see what I see. So I think because of that, like that was really attractive to me.
Yeah. No, I can understand that because I feel like obviously there's different levels of attraction. Because you can see someone and be like, oh, they're attractive. Like they are nice looking. I feel like there's also a difference between seeing someone and being like, I am attracted to them. Like you see attractive people all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you feel any type of connection or anything like that. And then obviously you start talking to them, even if it's just briefly, and you are attracted or not to their personality.
Or the way about them. Their way. What do you say? What do you call that? Their aura.
Like their aura, their vibe.
Their vibe.
Yeah. I remember, and y'all know, I've really only had like 2 long-term relationships, so I don't have like a lot to compare it to, I guess. But and I'm just gonna I'm taking my ex-husband out of the equation only because we were so young. I feel like I didn't even know nothing about nothing, so I just pretend like that's out. So for my son's dad, I remember I love it when someone has like a nice smile. Yes. And I just remember we already kind of knew each other, like our families knew each other. And it had been a while since I had seen him, and he's 7 years older than me. So that's a big difference when you're young, like when you're younger. Because our families had known each other like ever since I was a little kid. So obviously, I'm not going to be 16 and he's 23, you know. Right. But, you know, obviously once we got older, it didn't make that big of a difference. And I remember I had saw him for the first time in a long time. And I was like, oh, you know, you're like, hold on now. I don't remember looking at you through these eyes. These womanly eyes, you know. And I just remember thinking, oh, he is handsome. And he has such a pretty smile. And I agree with you. I feel like, and the part that always kind of like frustrated me too, like my son's dad, he's a mechanic and he paints cars and he does all that. So, you know, a lot of times people like that, they get really dirty, which I don't have any problem with that. I actually find it attractive. Yeah. When someone has like a skill or a craft where they work with their hands or anything like that. And he's a very hard worker. But also sometimes, you know, when you're doing stuff where you're always getting dirty or you're wearing a uniform or whatever, sometimes his brain doesn't get out of that mode. So then it was like he would tend to always be just in his grubby, like, and I will always say,
so easy to be that.
Yes, and I will always say, you are so handsome, and I feel like no one gets to see you as a nice shiny penny because you're just always covered in a layer of dust. Which, you know, again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I always felt like he also was one of those people that really didn't realize how handsome he really is. So I'm like, man, when you clean up, you really clean up nice. But I was also attracted to his vulnerability. Like, he was so nice. He was just one of those, you know, people that, you know, some guys you meet and there's like a sleaze factor. Oh, for sure.
You can spot that a mile away. All you gotta do is say one thing.
Yes, and it's like you feel a little sliminess, a little something. So and I feel like that's more common.
Yes.
So to meet a guy where you don't feel that and there is no sleaziness and sliminess, I feel like that is more rare.
It's like
and
a level
it's
of
more
purity.
attractive. Yes, because you feel like, oh, I feel more safe with this person, or I feel like I could be more vulnerable. I feel like I can open up. And still to this day, y'all know that he and I are friends, and I feel like he still has that same great quality. Now, you need more than that, obviously, for a relationship to work, which is why we're not together. Yeah. But, and I still never thought, like, we've talked about soulmates before and what attracts people, and is it love at first sight, or is it, and I think you believe in that.
I'm a little bit conflicted at this point, obviously.
Right.
But
everything gets more conflicting as we get older.
For a majority of my adult life, I did believe that there was one person for everyone. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, and I don't necessarily, I feel like there's one person, I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted about it. Yeah. Because I feel like God is that powerful. Like, it's not like, it's not like this far-fetched thing that is not possible. Mm-hmm. Like if you're listening to the Lord's leading every step of your way of the way, and you know He's listening to the leading every step of the way, you'll end up together. But I have never talked about this before. But
well, today's
not on YouTube anyway. I know. So okay, so there was the guy that I dated for 3 years before I got married. I believed that he was my husband, but I believed. So I met him one day in 2005, actually, and I don't know. From then on, it was like this. It was just this. I don't know how to explain it. It was like this weird, just knowing. Mm-hmm. And like the situation was nearly impossible. Like there was no real way for us to really get connected. Mm-hmm. But I just let it go, and I'm just like, Lord, if this really is you, then I know you're gonna make it happen. So I trust you. And like over the years, like a year went on, and then we actually ended up getting connected. And then so we were acquaintances. And then we would like occasionally have dinner or whatever. And then more years went on. And it wasn't until, so from 2005 to 2011, we were just acquaintances. And then he ended up moving back to Indy. And then from there, like he would hit me up a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was actually surprised because I didn't really know what to expect when he moved back. And then we ended up dating, and we dated for 3 years. And I mean, it was one of those. He was higher profile, and it was just a different type of situation. I had never dated somebody who had a lot of money, and like, so I constantly made excuses for him because of the fact that I felt like he was my husband for the last like 10 years. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it was, well, by the time. Wait, 2005 was it? So at that point it was like 6 years, 7 years or whatever, that I had felt that way, and then all of a sudden like we're dating. You know what I mean? So like to go from feeling that way for so many years, and like those were hard years. It was hard to hold on to that. And I did let it go and then date other people, and then it would always just circle around back to him, and it was just really, really hard to shake because I just felt so strongly. So when we were actually dating, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's happening. I can't believe it. And he was so mentally abusive, like pure narcissist. He's a millionaire. So like there's a dynamic there that like, I mean, women are always like, oh, I want to be with somebody who's a millionaire. But when you actually are in that situation, and like, I guess it depends. I am turned off by guys with a lot of money now. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Well, I already said in that other video we did, I feel like people with guys with a lot of money cheat, so.
Yeah, you know, and
anybody can cheat.
I don't think that's 100% always the case. However, there is an air about men with money, and I think because of what he did too, that
money and power makes a lot of people feel more entitled.
Yes, status. Like he he has some status, and so he had this air like he would say stuff like if I was at his house and I'm just like in, you know, sweats or whatever, and I have these favorite sweats, I still have them, and they have like paint on them, and he's just like, you just don't get it. One day,
yeah,
and I'm just like.
Like you're supposed to always look
like
polished,
right?
Yeah,
and like why are you insulting me? Or that coach bag is too young for you. Those Uggs are too young for you. Like just like stuff like that to almost put me down. Like I'm sorry, I don't have $2,000 to buy a pair of, you know, Louis Vuitton
whatever
boots.
Right.
So it was like, so like little things like that, but that's just like the surface. I mean, he did a lot of like really, really mentally abusive things. So throughout all that time, the Shanna detached from what she felt like the Lord told her would have been like, no. But because I still was in a little bit of that self-righteous mindset. Like, I have to be obedient. I have to be obedient to the Lord. The Lord told me this, so I have to do this. And maybe it's something about me. And granted, I will say that I learned so much in that relationship because I feel like there were a lot of things about me that did need to change. So that relationship did teach me a lot. However, it also taught me what not to accept. And it doesn't matter if the Lord told you that this man or woman is your husband or wife or not. If they treat you like crap and are mentally and verbally, emotionally abusive, they ain't the one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they ain't the one. And it was just a really tough lesson. And it really, it broke me. Like, I was so severely depressed by the end of that relationship that I knew when I broke up with him that I had to choose between him and my life. Because if I would have continued with him, I would have eventually like done something that I couldn't take back. Because he beat me down to a bloody pulp.
Yeah. So
because of that situation, I strongly feel that it is possible for the Lord to... I believe that the Lord does tell people... I don't know how to say this. I believe that the Lord can lead people together. He does lead people together, period. But, you know... a person's will comes into play. And if both people are not cooperative to the Lord's instruction, if both people are not mature enough and emotionally in the place to handle a relationship, that is not going to work. So on one hand, I do believe in it, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, I don't know. I hope that makes any sense.
Believe in it. And here's why I feel like I don't believe in soulmates or any of that stuff. Well, on one hand, I agree with you. I do feel like the Lord leads certain people to be together and stuff like that, for sure. But I don't feel like, you know, we're born and God is like, okay, here's Geraldine in her mother's womb.
Right.
Here's Marcus in his mother's womb.
Ties the string.
Right. I don't think it's like that because, and I think I've said this before, but God doesn't even force us to choose him.
I mean, that's true.
So, like, he wants our will to be aligned with his will, but it has to be our choice. Like, God never makes you choose anything or hold you prisoner to, like, a certain thing or a certain person or anything.
Right.
And I feel like relationships and marriage is really just a series of choices. And love is just a series of choices. So I feel like for example, well, now I am going to bring my ex-husband back up. I remember him telling me that God told him that I was to be his wife. And I remember feeling like there's no way I should be marrying him. Like, I remember feeling, and even though we did end up getting married, I remember feeling like that day of the wedding before I went out to walk down the aisle, I remember thinking, this is a mistake. Like, it was so clear. And I was panicking because I really wasn't sure, like, how to get out of it. Or you just be like, run away, bride. Just run down the street. So I've always wondered, I've always thought that was so interesting, like, how to reconcile those two things. He felt like the Lord told him that I was to be his wife. And I felt like, no, this is a mistake. And sometimes I wonder, not to get too deep on y'all, but obviously, you know, Satan is the deceiver. And sometimes I wonder, things that we feel like are from God, and sometimes they're not from God, but they look like they are, and they seem so much like they are, and they're really like just a distraction in a lot of ways. So it makes me wonder, like, the Bible says our hearts are so deceitful. Like, because any of us, once we know that there's something that we want, you convince yourself whatever you need to do of why what you want is okay. So, or why what you want is the right thing. It's like, I think that's the man for me. I feel like God's telling me that's the man for me because, look, my favorite color is purple, and then he put me in a purple car, and then we get the exact same thing on our Subway sandwiches. We both like seafood. His mom and my mom went to the same school. Oh my God, it's like you find all of these things that you feel like make it be something more than it's not. And at the end of the day, all God wants from any of us is just to say, okay, you know, we consult God for our choices, but we know that God's not going to be like, Shanna, come and make this choice. Like, we're going to have to make the choice, and just consulting God step by step and just asking him to show us the next step. And I feel like you can be a great partner with anyone. I do believe, I mean, if both people are willing to compromise, then you can make any relationship work. Because I feel like almost, not all, because some people seems like they've had it pretty good from day one. But I feel like a lot of people who have been married, especially for a long time, they talk about how rocky it was in the beginning, and how there was like, it was fraught with the turmoil and all of the types of stuff. But they made a series of choices to continue learning about each other, to continue praying, to continue putting each other first. And eventually, through that, they became, relationship goals. They became the type of marriage that people can look at and be like, oh, I want that. And most people will tell you it wasn't without difficulty. It wasn't without, for sure, really striving to get there. Sorry for the pause. I had to adjust the lighting because it looked like it was getting really dark. So, no, that's fine. But I feel like that's what God really wants. I think it's less about him saying that there's some man out there for me or some woman out there for you, even though I do think, well, I know that there is a man. I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, there's some man that's out there that's the only one man for me. But I know that the Lord will lead someone to me that, both of our ideas for family and life and marriage and stuff like that will align. But I feel like it's in the process of marriage that God really parallels like his love, the love between him and us. Because, the covenant of marriage is the closest thing also that we get to the covenant between us and Christ. Sure. So it's like learning to love unconditionally and learning to sacrifice and learning all of those things that you have to choose to do, because the love that you feel, or the butterflies or the attraction or the lust or whatever, none of that stuff will last for a long time. I've always said butterflies tell lies. That's always been my thing. I like that. Butterflies tell lies. Butterflies mean you need to go to the bathroom. After you go to the bathroom, it'll pass, and you'll be totally fine. But you know what's interesting though with my situation? Like when I was dating him, I had the opposite effect. I wasn't like trying. I was like trying to understand why it looks more like it's. He's not it. I'm like, okay, it must be me. It must be me. It must be me. And he reminded me so much of my like abusive first boyfriend and like all this. So I'm like trying to figure out like,
I don't know, but I think a lot of times when you're like overly self-righteous, you have a tendency, I don't know, you can over spiritualize everything. I would go to my mom and be like, Mom, this doesn't make any sense. Like he treats me like I'm just a convenience. Like this can't be right. Like some of the stuff that he did, I'm not even gonna say it on here, but like I literally can't believe that I put up with that mess. Like I look back and I'm just like, what the F?
Yeah.
Like I have to tell you later because I still like I'm shocked when I even tell anybody now. When I actually speak it out loud, I'm like, what the F? But yeah, so I basically just blamed myself the whole time and thought, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one who needs to grow in all those ways, emotionally, spiritually, and all that stuff in order to be the right fit. Like maybe it's just a learning experience, and I'm just like blaming myself the whole time when no, he's an asshole. Yeah, that's the problem. Like,
I think too, a lot of times we grow up and we're not necessarily taught what we should be looking for. Sometimes you're taught what not to look for. Sometimes, and it just depends on the person, because we all have different parents and stuff like that. I wasn't taught nothing, no way, shape, or form. So I just knew from the experience of what was going on with my parents. I knew what I kind of didn't want,
right? But
I didn't really know what to look for. So I find like when we get into adulthood, we have a narrative that has been set by all these other things. For some women, it's movies or fairy tales or TV or books or, just our friends or other experiences. So we have all of these like wrong ideas of what it should be or what to look for, because I feel like God, God can't lie. So he doesn't go back on his own word. Right. So I feel like if you feel like God is telling you that someone is for you from God, but then you look at that person and you don't see like the fruit of the Spirit on their life, or you don't really see the traits of any God. And none of us are perfect, but you guys know what I mean. Like
this was like blatantly.
Yeah, there's a difference between someone who just needs to mature a little bit or whatever, and someone who's just flat out wrong.
And it's hard too sometimes, because some guys who are narcissists, or noble narcissism is a big thing. He was the kind of person who, to everybody else in the public eye, everyone thinks he is like this amazing, strong man of God, so noble and like outstanding, and I'm like, where? Because like this fool, like, but honestly, I feel like for me, I knew what to expect personally. He missed all the marks, except for occasionally he would, every now and then, just to reel me back in. But I feel like the Lord allowed us to date to show me that he wasn't, because I don't think that, like, when I was so like,
you may have just kept waiting
I was waiting and waiting. And anytime I dated somebody else, like, it could have been a great relationship. I've been in really good relationships, but it always turned around back to him, and he would it would just be tugging on my heart, and I just felt like I don't want to get married to somebody and then regret it for the rest of my life because like I should have waited on the Lord. So I feel like the Lord had me go through that just to help me let it go. Yeah. Because like honestly, Travis is like everything. I was actually shocked because he's everything. You know it's out there.
Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it's out there. The man exists. At least you convince yourself of that in order to not go insane. Right. You know what I mean?
You're just hanging on.
Yeah, you're just hanging on. But you don't. There's like a part of you that's like, I don't know, does he exist? And honestly, Travis is literally like everything. Like things that I didn't even know that I really wanted. God knows what we want. He knows what we need. It's like if you trust God, it's not about trusting God for a specific person. It's just trusting that God is going to bring the right person into your life in the right timing. And man, like I'm just blown away. Yeah. Because he's not perfect by any means, but he's perfect.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. Like none of us are perfect, but that doesn't necessarily mean that someone can't be like perfectly compatible with you.
Totally.
Which Travis is. If you do say so yourself.
I do say so myself.
I know that like I knew that. So I knew that the first one was wrong, which is my ex-husband. My son's dad, I feel like that was the tougher thing to reconcile because I really felt we had such a good friendship, and we still have a very good friendship. And sometimes when someone is maybe destined to be your friend, but you're also attracted to them, that gets kind of like gray area. Yeah. And I, at the time, because I was still young, I mean, when I was 20, like 25 or 26, so I was still young, because I got married and divorced young, and then I started dating my son's dad. So I was still in my 20s and I didn't know a whole lot, and I think I just got that confused. I think that we were always destined to be friends. But because we, involved other types of things.
And also, there's probably a part of you that thinks, well, you want to marry your best friend, right?
Yeah, it's like, who doesn't want to be with their friend and like someone that you always feel comfortable with and someone that you always trust and someone, but that's where like that, I feel like that's what, a lot of times that's where like our teaching comes in and really like the hardcore consulting of God, because you have to be able to discern who should be the good friend versus who should be something more, because even though luckily that we have still been able to maintain a friendship and co-parent, there was a ton of collateral damage of just the fallout of us not being together, that now we, both have suffered, the emotional, consequences of just making that wrong choice. Because I 100% did not consult God about him at all. I was more newly, separated from my husband, but he was divorced. And I don't want to say that we were a rebound for each other, but I guess in a way we were, because we were both lonely, but we were both also serial monogamists. Mm-hmm. So neither one of us was just like, oh, I'm just dating, I'm just out here having, I think we both probably dated some people, or went out with some people here and there. But we knew, like, once we started dating, we just started dating, and we just never, it was like, we didn't even try to entertain any other options. We were just like, But now let's kind of fast forward. So, you guys know now I've been single for a couple of years. I'm trying to remember how long it's been exactly. Maybe 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. And I've dated like a couple of people. I don't want to say dated. I haven't had any type of relationships. I've gone on dates. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's harder when you're older.
I've gone on dates with a couple of people. And there's only really been, I guess there's been 2 people that I've really been attracted to, which I could tell is definitely more of like a physical attraction. But then there's been one person that I feel like drawn to him for a reason that I can't really put my finger on. Yeah. I don't feel like it's from God or anything like that, because honestly it's like I haven't really even prayed about it or anything. It's just something where, have you guys ever seen the kid movie Hotel Transylvania? Yeah. Where where they talk about a zing. Like every monster has a zing. It's like when they see their person that they're supposed to be, when it's like zing, and it's literally like the stars and stuff. That was how I felt like with this particular person. It was like zing, and that feeling has never really fully worn off. And we've gone out on a couple of dates, but we don't like talk. I mean, neither one of us has ever really tried to pursue and be like, hey, what do you think we should? I mean, I I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but I think about him often, and I have never even told him this or said this to anyone or anything like that. So he's probably just blissfully unaware.
Right.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if the feeling was mutual, he would reach out to me. So I don't want to be the one to reach out, which I know guys have to take all the rejection, and I'm sorry, and I understand that that's not fair, but I just can't take no more. So yeah, but I haven't reached out to just be like, you know what, I really think, because
some guys are a little slow.
I'm like, am I going to be leading myself down the wrong? And that's where, okay, so y'all know also that I am currently like not with anyone and not sexually active or anything like that. So too, that's like a fear for me because I know that I would mess up. Like I know that I would probably make mistakes with this person because I do feel like that draw is like so strong. It wouldn't take very much, and then it'd be like tweet. Ooh, that helped my head. Oh my! Like, I don't want to. I'm trying to, I'm trying to be right.
God. I mean, timing is everything.
Yes,
but
for sure.
Some guys need a little bit of a nudge.
I know you're right, but, and this is kind of like a side note, and I want to know if y'all feel the same way. I feel like men and women have to carry like different types of weight in relationships. I feel like women always carry the full weight of failed relationships. I never hear people really asking guys, well, what went wrong, or what do you think you did wrong in a relationship, or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
That's true.
I feel like when relationships go bad, no matter what happened, it's always the woman's fault. If the man cheats, it's the woman's fault. If y'all, end up having a kid and then didn't get married and the woman decides to separate, well, you shouldn't have been, and now you just got baby daddies. And I feel like it's always the woman's fault.
That's actually true.
For whatever reason. And to me, I've already had, a failed marriage and then another very long-term relationship that didn't work. And I don't know. It's like I'm feeling very risk averse right now. Like I'm not really feeling like I want to be going out on no limbs.
And
so I would need another person I would need that reassurance of another person kind of coming to me and making me feel, like they were
pursued,
sure, and they were like more steady, and then I'm sure I would kind of go.
That's the hard part about dating, because I feel like nowadays men have this mentality that like this is the 2000s. Like, how come women can't do this? But like women are like, I want to feel like a woman. Like I want you to pursue me. Like why is that dead? It actually isn't dead for every man, but I feel like for quite a few. Yeah. It's like, why do women have to be the ones to, I don't know.
I feel like and obviously, I'm not trying to say that women should just do nothing and the men should do everything. But I feel like for a woman, if you're making it known that you're, available and you're approachable and you're, kind and stuff like that, and you're kind of setting the atmosphere to make it easy for someone to approach you, then I feel like why not let the man then be the one to lead? Because I feel like I don't know.
Did y'all do a video on that?
Yes. Okay. And we're kind of going off on a tangent, but y'all know how we feel about that. I feel like it sets you up for failure if you reverse that in the very beginning. Because I feel like most, but not all, I feel like most men, if you are aggressive from the beginning, if the woman is the aggressor and the leader and stuff like that from the beginning, most men will just take that passive role, and then it'll be like y'all will be trying to fix that
right
for the whole relationship.
No woman wants a passive. Well, some women do, but most women don't want a passive man. They want a man.
And truth be told, like so many, I have a hard time even trying to figure out what the balance is, because I know a lot of women who are running.
Yeah, I do too.
They run their households and their families, and it's kind of like I'm looking around saying, okay, Lord, like what I really want is really more of a traditional, like the man is the head of the household. Not saying that submissive does not mean subservient. Right. I'm not saying that you're less than or anything like that, but the man being the head and me being in submission under him as he's in submission under God. Like, I feel like you can't lose with that equation.
First of all, it's emasculating for a woman to run the house. Second of all, a lot of times the men just go with it because they don't want to hear your mouth. Yeah. So it's like, whatever, I don't want to get in a fight today. Do whatever you want. Yeah. And like, who wants to live like that? Like, I don't think there is any man who's genuinely happy with in a household where the woman is running things.
Yeah, I agree.
That's bold to say.
I mean, I think it's bold, and I think it's right.
Okay. I was gonna say, and that's why, like, I feel like I'm a pretty strong woman. I feel like you're a pretty strong woman. It's hard sometimes, because when you want your way, you want your way. Yeah. I might not like it, but at least I respect it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Travis is good when he's good at just like he's super easygoing and whatever, but if he will make a firm if he strongly has a strong stance on something, he'll be like, okay, I'm making an executive decision.
Yeah. If you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage and there's a decision that needs to be made or whatever the case may be, you guys are coming together, you're consulting each other. The man is 100% taking your advice and your input and all of that. And a lot of times the husband may be like, you know what, my wife, her spirit of discernment is on point. Whatever, we gonna go with her plan or whatever. Yeah. But if it comes to a point where you're in disagreement and you cannot agree, technically the husband, not the boyfriend, not the situationship, nor the entanglement. The husband's decision will kind of be the one that overrides. But if it's done in a healthy way, I feel like the woman, the wife is not necessarily feeling bad about how it went. Right. She's understanding of because at the end of the day, somebody has to be there has to be an order. Right. Anywhere you go, at the job, wherever, somebody is making the decision. It can't be. Right. And y'all gotta be on the same page.
It's totally different. It's like, we gonna do what I said. We gonna do what I said.
Right. Like,
now that's different. But I think I respect a man who steps up and takes the lead. Yeah. Like, for sure. The lead. Be a man. Be a man.
Since, we get off on tangents all the time, but to try to get back onto our original thing, that is attractive.
That is very attractive. Because I will run over a weak man. I will run over a weak man. I've been in relationships with weak men, and I was so unattracted. Like, it was whatever I wanted all the time, and it is so
It's like, I got on the hard hat, I'm behind the controls of the steamroller. I'm just bam! Because some people, and I don't think, real tough. I think people kind of get it confused a little bit when it comes to like women who have strong personalities. Yes. See, that's why y'all. But no, like, calm it down. You want a lot of times a woman like that in your corner, and if she feels that you are submitted to God, and if she feels like you are safe to trust and stuff like that, even a woman who would normally bulldoze a weaker mortal will come under your guidance if she feels like she can follow you, she can trust you, you're safe.
And if the man always is looking out for her, absolutely. And takes her opinions into consideration.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
There's so many things that go into it. And the whole purpose of us doing this video, we were just kind of having a sidebar conversation before this, and we were talking about how interesting it was to talk about, like, what attracts people to each other and what kind of makes people stick, and what, especially when you see people, it's like, it don't seem like that, you will go together, and I think we all kind of see people like that. But at the end of the day, what happens after the initial attraction is what's really of the utmost importance.
Absolutely.
You know, I've been all about trying to broaden my horizons because, you know, before I would say like maybe I really only wanted to date someone black, and I kind of, y'all don't get me wrong, because I feel like I could get heat for this too. I'm not saying that I'm against dating anybody of another race. I feel like my preference is someone black, and my preference is also someone dark skinned.
Listen, when I got married, I got so much heat for saying that because I prefer the same,
Mm-hmm.
but I got roasted. But honestly, like, a preference is a preference.
Like, girl,
like,
it's you half white,
right? And can I not have a preference just because
that's
I'm
what
half
her half
white?
white
Like,
side is what makes her like black guys more.
right. And after my marriage, I will never.
I would be open for sure to dating another race or anything. I'm not saying that if someone like approached me or anything, I would just be like, nah, you ain't black, and shut them down. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when you think in your mind of what your preference would be, like that is just
I feel like it's less about, I don't know. It's so different.
Yeah.
Like culturally, it's so different. And like now that I have experienced both, like I just can't.
And especially in this year of our Lord 2020 and everything that's going on in politics and media and stuff like that. I only know three white guys that I would say I call them like black adjacent. Like when it's when it's a person that is a white person, but
they have that
you
swag.
can tell that they're about as close to understanding and being, you know, submerged in different cultures and the black experience and stuff like that. And one is probably Chad.
Yeah.
One is a coworker that I had he's an older man. His name is Tom, but he's been married to a black lady for like forever and a day. And another is I think I had mentioned my daughter's teacher that she had, and he's actually now in a relationship with the black. So they're all with black women.
Yeah,
Like,
it is so different. Like when you date like a white man, if that makes any sense, it is so different. And like I couldn't get. It's almost like things that I would say. For example, I identify as a black woman, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to him, he didn't understand. I don't understand why you can't identify as a white woman. Mm-hmm. Bruh. There's no way.
Do you ever even just refer to yourself as biracial? Or,
yeah. I mean, if someone asks, well, what are you? I'm like, I'm mixed.
Yeah.
But I don't like,
I
will never be like, I'm a white woman.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
yeah. When you're mixed, you really can't.
It's like the one drop rule.
I know.
You can't take the drop out of the pot.
Sure.
You can't.
For sure. So you either got to be like, I'm mixed or I'm black.
Or I'm black. That's it.
No going back.
That's only two choices.
You have friends that I don't know, but of the friends that you have that are white that I do know, they are also very like socially conscious and very. I mean, I don't really have. That's not true. I was gonna say I don't really have any white friends that aren't like kind of like black adjacent, but I do, because when I got into the women's group that I'm in, it has a lot of older white ladies that you would consider like your stereotypical just white suburban lady. However, I feel like what makes the difference is they legit, genuinely, deeply, as fully as I've ever seen, they are Christian women. They have the love of Christ. And even if they can't identify or even if they can't relate, like I've never felt, we have nothing but love amongst that group. So I feel like it is possible. For sure. But I think it could only, personally, I think it could only be with a Christian, like if it was a white man that was kind of like more like Ned Flandery, you know, and he would, the presence of God would have to be on him so fully, because I do feel like God overrides race.
For sure, absolutely.
So, you know, there's always that argument. It's like, well, sometimes people feel at odds. Your Christianity and your blackness feel at odds because there's so much stuff out in the world that makes them feel like. But I feel like my Christianity overrules anything.
Absolutely.
It overrules that I'm black. It overrules that I'm a woman. It overrules that I'm a mom. It overrules anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a Christian first.
Yeah. One thing I do notice though, like it's different to have like acquaintances, but once you get like real deep, like intimate, like
for sure.
Like we really start discussing your beliefs and all of like the ins and outs and all that stuff is when things start to surface.
Yep.
You know, and that's where it gets tricky. Like I could fit in anywhere,
and
like,
that's scary to me.
It's really scary.
That's
scary. You know, actually, it's funny because like at this, I used to sing at a church in Bloomington, and I loved it there. But when I first got there, there was this girl. She like wanted to be friends and stuff, and I was just like, oh yeah. I mean, but Janae was standing there too. No new friend. She was like, oh yeah, Shanna doesn't like to meet new people that much, and I was like, yeah. And you know, the girl was like, why? And I was like, because when you get to know somebody, you get to know who you really are. Like, I don't want to know who you really are. Like, I'd rather just keep it the way it is, keep it surface level, let's be friends, because if I figure out who you really are, we gonna have problems.
And it's something, that's how I feel about my coworkers. This is such a side note. I've always felt like coworkers are not friends. I hardly ever try to intermingle them up. Now, I have some pretty close coworkers now. I don't know if I would necessarily call them true friends, but I have got closer to some of my coworkers now than I have ever before. But that's always been my hard and fast rule, because yes, it's like, then I gotta find out something about you, and now we gotta keep working together, and you secretly feel
right. I mean,
we're on a
there's a lot. People have a lot of layers.
We went so far off the topic.
That's a good topic, though.
That is a good topic. We should talk about race relations, and we should dress up as anchor women, and we should be like, state of race in America.
Okay, so on that note, that'll be another video. We'll continue this conversation in another video, because I think that's a really good topic too. All right, so stay tuned for that topic at a later date. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We want to know what you think. Do you believe in soulmates? Let us know. What initially attracts you to somebody?
Yes.
Let us know in the comments.
What's the most attractive things that you find that really makes you want to get to meet someone? And can those things be enhanced? Like, if you're a single person, do you feel like that there are things that you could adjust, not change yourself, but do you feel like that there are things that you could adjust that could make you more someone willing to get to know you more, that can make you seem more approachable, that can make you more attractive to a potential suitor?
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
What? Let us know in the comments down below.
Yes,
exactly.
Let us know in the comments.
You can look at the video up here,
up
here, or down here in the comments down below.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for part 2.
Yes, and thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up.
Give us a thumbs up.
Lots of thumbs ups.
Lots of billions.
Like it and hit the subscribe.
And also check out on my mom's YouTube channel.
Yes.
On my mom's YouTube channel.
It will be linked in the description box.
Yes.
And we will see you on the next Real Talk Thursday.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Have a good day.